unfair to people who paid their student loans or chose not to take out loans?
Is it fair to people who, in fact, do not own multi-billion-dollar businesses if she wants these guys give them all a tax breaks? Is that fair? What do you think?
How does that even make sense? It doesn't. Welcome back to the program. Dana Loesch here. That was yesterday after Biden spoke and was announcing that he was going to saddle all of us with the debt that everybody else decided to accrue when they took their student loans. And then he says, well, it's, is it fair that these companies, what did he say, that they don't pay there, or that they're successful and they don't pay anything? Is that what he actually said?
Is it fair to people who aren't these giant corporations who escape their taxes, essentially?
I want to know how he thinks they escape their taxes. I really want to know that. That doesn't even make sense. How does he think that they escape anything? That's just golly. I wish these people had understood one thing about how business works and how the economy works. They don't. How is that in any way? Was it fair that people who do not own multi-billion-dollar businesses, they see these guys getting the tax credits? What does he talk? Does he know what a tax credit is, by the way? Does he know what a tax credit actually is? I feel like we have like this huge financial illiteracy. I mean, it's not the same thing as an exemption, and it's not the same thing as a deduction at all. That's not what that means. He doesn't actually, I think all the businesses are probably in Hunter's name, right? Or his brother's name. So he doesn't know. That's just absolutely asinine. Is it fair that zebras have stripes and these people don't? I mean, I mean, that the bottom line is that if you do not have a responsibility to pay someone else's debt, people knew what they were getting into. I mean, they knew exactly what they were getting into when they decided to do this. This is not anybody else's responsibility. No one forced anybody to take this loan. No one forced them to sign on the dotted line. Nobody forced them to do any of this. Nobody forced them to go to college. They didn't force them to go to class. They didn't force them to do any of this. But you are forcing the American taxpayer. I think I have the right to claim every single one of these people as dependents on my taxes. Yeah. I really think that that's what we should do. It's a joke. The tax system is a joke. Why should anybody pay anything? Right? When are we going to have raised the point of medical debt? What about all the people? And furthermore, can I just also add this? Are we seriously going to talk about student loan debt redistribution and not address the fact that for almost 2 years no one was in a classroom? You honestly think that you're getting the same amount of service? Because I don't. They're and as Kay noted, they're price gouging. There were kids who didn't get to go to class. I have a friend whose son went halfway across the country to go to a very nice university, was there a month, and they shut everything down. So his first year and a half was learning remotely, online, through Zoom. That was it. The tuition didn't change, though. And it was one of those universities that has like a $28 billion endowment. Those are the entities that should be paying this. It's not just morally wrong, it's legally wrong. Because not everyone who borrows from the government goes to school is poor. They're not ruined. They're not desperate. And by the way, if that's how you feel, then why haven't you changed the federal student loan program? If you feel like it's so bad that all these people are saddled with all of this unsustainable debt, as he said, why haven't any steps been taken to overhaul this system? Because wouldn't you then argue that it is the way that this system is oriented that is contributing to these inequities? Right? But no, that's not what they have. No incentive at all whatsoever to lower the price of tuition. In fact, after this, they have even less incentive. There have been, for instance, there was a piece that was written, it was over at Reason back in 2015. And it gets into how the student loan program and the way that it's constructed has entirely driven up the price. Separately, there was a study by the New York Federal Reserve. They wrote, we find institutions more exposed to changes in the subsidized federal loan program increase their tuition disproportionately around these policy changes, with a sizable pass-through effect on tuition of about 65%. We also find that Pell Grant aid and unsubsidized federal loan program have pass-through effects on tuition, although these are economically and statistically not as strong. So everybody can pay the cost of admission no matter how high it is, because universities just keep charging more the more that government pays for it. It's like the housing bubble. This is like Dodd-Frank, but for education. It's exactly like that. It's not going to get better. This has been an absolute incentive for it to get even worse. Oh, but he says he's fulfilling a campaign promise. What, tax increases on everybody? I mean, this is a scam, the student loan thing that's not lawful. It's going to be up to $1 trillion.